Welcome to another episode of the Football Analytics Show. My name is Ed Feng, your host. On this episode, I'm going to give you 12 actionable nuggets on each of the college football playoff teams. Let's go. Number 12, Clemson. Clemson has always thrived on defense. This year wasn't supposed to be any different. They had returning players like defensive end TJ Parker, and Parker has been great this season with 12 sacks. However, the defense has struggled. To quantify this, I'm going to talk about success rate. This is a metric that captures the context of each play. It knows that 2 yards is much different on 4th and 1 versus 1st and 10. For an offense, a play is a success based on the fraction of yards that it gets towards the next first down. An offense must get 50% of these yards on first down, 70% of these yards on second down, and obviously 100% of these yards on third and fourth down. I take the success rate and I adjust for strength of schedule with my proprietary algorithms. Clemson is 38th in my adjusted success rate. You could see this in the ACC championship game against SMU. Clemson had a lead, SMU came back and tied it late. Clemson kicked a game-winning field goal to win. Let's compare this 38th in adjusted success rate for Clemson's defense compared to the previous years. In 2023, Clemson was first. The year before that, they were 19th. In 2021, Clemson was fourth. Clemson's defense has fallen off this season. Number 11, SMU. SMU seemed to have figured out the quarterback situation at the start of the season. In 2023, Preston Stone threw for 3,197 yards and 28 touchdowns. Coach Brett Lashley knew better. At the beginning of the season, he said that both Stone and Kevin Jennings would play. Then Stone struggled in their third game, an 18-15 loss to BYU. When you consider sacks, Stone had negative yards on his passing plays. Kevin Jennings started the next week, and he hasn't looked back. Overall, SMU is 24th when I look at my passing success rate adjusted for strength of schedule. This is mostly Kevin Jennings. Maybe we should have seen this coming. Last year with Preston Stone, SMU was 78th in my adjusted passing success rate. Jennings can also run, as he has averaged 5.2 yards on 81 non-sack carries this season. Number 10, Indiana. Kirk Cignetti came over from James Madison, where he had a lot of success. James Madison came up to the FBS level in the 2022 season, and Cignetti has had an outstanding 19-4 record in the past 2 seasons. However, that does not mean that you're going to be successful in the Big Ten at a basketball school. No one thought Cignetti would make the playoff in his first year, as Indiana got 0 votes in the preseason AP poll, a powerful predictor of team strength. People still might not believe in Indiana, as they haven't played the toughest schedule. They lost to Ohio State. In the new 18-team Big Ten, their next best opponent was Michigan. No Oregon, no Penn State on the schedule this year. With such a weak schedule, you really need my schedule adjustments. This is the proprietary algorithm that adjusts for opposing teams. At the power rank, I use a variety of metrics from the current season to rate a team. This includes success rate, it includes yards per play, and it also includes margin of victory in games. Each of these 3 factors is individually adjusted for strength of opposition. When you combine these 3 metrics together, all adjusted, Indiana ranks 4th in the nation. Normally, I like to fade a team that didn't get a single vote in the preseason AP poll. However, this Indiana team has excelled in the underlying metrics. Number 9, Tennessee. Josh Heupel is known as an offensive coach, and the Tennessee offense has been good. However, it's Tennessee's defense that really stands out. When you look at success rate adjusted for opponent with my algorithm, Tennessee's defense is third in the nation. They are particularly good against the run. They are first in my adjusted rushing success rate. They are also excellent against the pass. They are ninth in my adjusted passing success rate. They do it with players like James Pierce Jr. The defensive end was only a 3-star recruit, and he only played 61 snaps as a freshman in 2022. Last season, he broke out. He registered 13 sacks and had 52 quarterback hurries. This season, Pierce's numbers are a little bit down in the sack department. He only has 8, but he has 52 quarterback hurries, which is the same number as last season, and about the same number of pass rush snaps. Tennessee goes down to play Ohio State, another team with an excellent defense. There are not going to be a lot of points in this game, as the total in this game is 47 points. Number 8, Ohio State. How do you evaluate this Ohio State team? They lost 2 games by a total of 4 points to Oregon and Michigan. 2 teams were able to stay within 1 score of Ohio State. That would be Nebraska and Penn State. Ohio State beat everyone else on their schedule by 23 or more points. This includes a very good win over Indiana. When I first started the Power Rank, I answered questions just like this. How do you take margin of victory and then adjust for strength of schedule with an algorithm? When I do this, it ends up being a set of 262 equations with 262 variables. I have to solve for these variables. There is 1 variable for each FBS and FCS team. Ohio State should get docked for that game against Nebraska, but they should probably get credit for a pretty big win over Indiana. So where does Ohio State come in? Ohio State is first in my team rankings that take margin of victory and adjust for strength of schedule. They are slightly ahead of Notre Dame. No matter what happened against Michigan, Ohio State is a serious threat to win the first college football playoff. Number 7, Notre Dame. Let's look at quarterback Riley Leonard. The transfer from Duke isn't great at throwing the ball, but he can run. If you go to ESPN and look at his stats, he has registered 721 rushing yards this season. That's at a clip of 5.8 yards per carry. That all sounds good. However, it's actually misleading because in college football statistics, sacks are included in a quarterback's rushing yards. If you take out the sacks, Riley Leonard had 787 rushing yards this season, and he had a very good 7.0 yards per carry. The college football average is 5.1 yards per carry. In addition, Riley Leonard was successful on 55.4% of these non-sack carries. The average college football rushing success rate is 43.4. To see how good these numbers are, let's compare him to Jalen Milroe of Alabama. Milroe is really known as a running quarterback. Milroe had a success rate of 48.5% on non-sack carries, and he averaged 6.3 yards per carries. Riley Leonard had better numbers than Jalen Milroe. Leonard is a lethal runner, and I expect Notre Dame to lean on this in the playoff games. Number 6, Penn State. Coming into the season, there were a lot of questions about quarterback Drew Aller. He played in a very conservative offense last year. Let's check in on what the numbers say this year. We're going to take success rate on passing plays for Penn State, and then we're going to adjust for opposition with my algorithm. The final results are that Penn State is second in the nation in my adjusted passing success rate. This is excellent. It hasn't also been a lot of short stuff like he did last season. I also look at yards per pass attempt, a metric that includes the negative plays from sacks. After you make the similar schedule adjustments, Penn State is fourth in my adjusted yards per pass attempt. Aller has been really good. He has had 31 completions of 20 or more yards in Big Ten games. Drew Aller got no Heisman love, but he's been really efficient at throwing the football this year. Number 7, Texas. Texas had an amazing first season in the SEC. They had an 11-2 record, with the only losses being to Georgia. However, this team does have a weakness. When I look at passing success rate and adjust for strength of schedule, they are 57th in the nation. That is not good. That is close to FBS average. Quinn Ewers has been the quarterback for Texas this season. He has been hurt a couple of games. Arch Manning played full games against Louisiana Monroe and Mississippi State. While this wasn't the strongest competition, Manning actually had a pretty good raw success rate. He had a raw passing success rate of 44%, which is better than the raw percentage of 40.8 for Ewers. Manning is not dragging down these numbers for Texas. On a play-by-play basis, Texas is not great at getting conversions with the pass game. I do like Quinn Ewers. I thought he played an excellent game against a Michigan defense that turned out to be pretty good. But I do question Texas's ability to convert a critical third or fourth down with the passing game. Number 4, Arizona State. After losing to Texas Tech and Cincinnati early, Arizona State went on a run. They finished 11-2 with a Big 12 championship game win over Iowa State. However, the record can be deceiving. Arizona State was 6-1 in one-score games this year. Your record in one-score games tends to regress to the mean of 500. Look, we expect a team like Arizona State to play a lot of tight games in a very competitive Big 12 conference. They had these one-score wins over Kansas, Utah, UCF, and BYU. However, they also had a one-score win against Mississippi State and Texas State. This is not the strongest of competition. Great teams tend to put up big scores against average teams. Arizona State didn't do this. Let's compare Arizona State to Indiana. Indiana was 1-0 in one-score games this season, a win over Michigan. Indiana didn't let bad teams stay close. Like Indiana, Arizona State also didn't get a single vote in the preseason AP poll, a powerful predictor of team strength. Because of their results in one-score games, I am more likely to fade Arizona State. Number 3, Boise State. Running back Ashton Jeanty had a great year, and he will make a trip to New York to watch Travis Hunter win the Heisman. He led Boise State to a terrific 12-1 season. They were able to win the Mountain West Conference, and their only loss was early to Oregon by 3 points. However, Boise State played a really weak Mountain West schedule. 5 of their opposing teams were 100th or worse in my member college football rankings. One of these teams is Wyoming, and Boise State only won this game by 3. My member rankings consider who you played, and at the end of the day, right now, Boise State is 37th in my best college football numbers. That is much different from being the 3rd best conference champion as the College Football Playoff Committee has them. Boise State is actually the worst team in this 12-team field, according to my numbers. Number 2, Georgia. Last year, Georgia had Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers to throw to. These 2 guys are not just playing in the NFL, but excelling. Georgia recruits very well, so they should be able to find replacements for these 2 players. They haven't. To look at receivers, let's look at yards per route run. I really like this efficiency metric because a receiver must consistently get open with every pass-catching snap. This season, Arian Smith has been their best receiver by this metric. He has averaged 1.91 yards per route run. Last year, Ladd McConkey averaged 3.26 yards per route run. 3 is considered elite in college football. This lack of elite talent also extends to the running back position. None of Georgia's running backs averaged 5 yards per carry this season. The college football average is 5.1 yards per carry. This Georgia offense is efficient at moving the ball. However, no individual skill player stands out. Number 1, Oregon. Oregon is the top team by my member rankings, and you can see what their corresponding win probability is if you sign up for my free email newsletter. You can do this at thepowerrank.com. However, they do have one weakness: rush defense. Let's look at success rate on rush plays and then adjust for opponent based on my algorithm. Oregon ranks 60th in my adjusted rushing success rate. You can do the same calculation for yards per carry and then make adjustments for schedule. You get about the same answer. Oregon is 57th. You could see this in the Big Ten championship game. Penn State ran all over them. Penn State had a 66.7 rushing success rate, significantly better than the college football average of about 43%. The rush defense has been good enough for Oregon to remain undefeated, but we'll see if it holds up in the playoff. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Analytics Show. My name is Ed Feng, your host. This episode is brought to you by the Power Ranks Sports Betting Newsletter. Looking for some action on any given weekend? This is the free service for you, as 5 Nugget Saturday is my curated list of tips and analytics. In addition, if you sign up, you'll get my win probabilities for all 12 college football playoff teams. To get this free service, go to thepowerrank.com. That is my site for better sports betting information through data and predictive analytics. Once again, that's thepowerrank.com. Thanks again for listening, and I will talk to you again next week.